Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming off the street on a very slow weekend for entertainment in Toronto. This is the Meet the Stars of CBC's comedy panel. I'm Steve Patterson, the host of The Debaters, and thank you for the benefit of the doubt. And it's my pleasure to be here with the stars of 22 Minutes and LOL and Michelle Daly, who I don't know if you know Michelle. She is the president of vice presidents at CBC.
Yeah.
So all the vice presidents, I'm kidding. Some of you are like, we have a position like that?
That would be amazing, though.
Michelle is in charge of comedy, right? What is your position?
It's the senior director of comedy at CBC.
Yeah. So anyone that has a comedy idea, please tell it to Michelle. We should be able to get it on by next week. My job is just to moderate this thing, and ironically, they said keep it on the rails, which is exactly what I don't do on The Debaters. But let's introduce Ali Hassan, the host of LOL on CBC. You may also have seen him in the movie Goon, fantastic movie.
Was that TIFF? Just a shameless plug of a part of my life that no one cares about anymore. But 2 years ago, I was at TIFF.
Fantastic
throw that
movie. Now we're at TIFF again. It's across the street.
Full circle, and yet nobody cares.
Star of this hour has 22 minutes. Susan Kent, all the way from Newfoundland. You guys know Susan. Also, for everyone who wants part of the sketch troupe, The Dance Party.
Of Newfoundland.
Yeah.
3 chords from the truth, and Death Comes to Town.
That's right. Kids in the Hall.
I know it.
Yeah.
And this gentleman over here, you may recognize as one of the founding members of the comedy troupe Schooner or Later.
That's right.
That doesn't exist, but from 22 Minutes, Mark Critch, ladies and gentlemen. And also from the fantastic movie, The Grand Seduction. I hope everyone went to see that. A very amazing Canadian comedy success story. Now, this is how this is going to run. I run a tight ship here. I'm going to ask questions to these folks about comedy. They're going to answer it. And then towards the end, we'll have a chance for you guys to ask some questions if you're interested. I also have some random questions in a jar. I'm not sure who submitted these. But we have just room for 2 more people, as long as they're bringing what appears to be alcohol into the room. Thank you, folks. Thank you for joining us. You're at the Stars of CBC comedy panel. So if that doesn't ring a bell, you might want to leave. Nope, still here. Good. All right. First question, and I guess I'm going to ask this to everyone, but let's, Susan, let's start. Let's be chivalrous. Ladies first.
Such a gentleman.
How did you get into comedy? Why did you get into it, and how?
Actually, it was funny. I never thought I would do comedy. I was in theater school, and we were doing this series of plays called The Greeks. So it was like 3 Greek tragedies and 1 Greek comedy about Helen of Troy. So I was cast as Helen of Troy in this comedy, and every time we would rehearse everything that I would do, the director would go, "Okay, hang on." And then he'd get up, and he'd be like, and he'd act like a lady, and he would do what he wanted me to do. And so I was like, all right. And then I remember on opening night, the show went all right, and we all came off stage, and he came over to me and he said, "Who knew she could do comedy?" And I was like, that's my calling, man. Clearly, that's my calling.
And you did it. And look at this. And now a fixture
That's right.
on, I would say, Canada's best comedy show on a weekly basis. Hey, 22
You
minutes.
keep adding things. Canada's best comedy show
On a weekly basis. Canada's best comedy show with a number in the title with the words.
Not Rick, of course, other Newfoundlanders.
We'll go to you second, I guess, buddy. Another
Okay.
Is anyone from that's not from Newfoundland allowed to do comedy in Canada? Because it seems like you guys have a bit of a stranglehold on it.
No, just right now, government. See, it's funded by government. I don't know if you knew that. So there's a show with horses allocation that goes to Alberta every year, and then there is sporting events. That's Ontario split with the French, and then Newfoundland comedy this year is Rick, Johnny Harris, ourselves from 22 Minutes, and sometimes Rex Murphy. That's the way that was.
That's it. That's how it's allocated. That's how we get the grant money.
Yeah.
Something out there makes you guys funny.
Yeah, I think it's being on an island that we only joined in 49, so we're still the outsiders. And you guys making Newfie jokes for years got our backs up. So we decided we'd come up. When you guys joined Newfoundland in 49, we thought we'd come and start making Ontario jokes. And it's worked out well.
You guys have taken over. Ali, you are not from Newfoundland.
No, born in New Brunswick, though. I've tried my best.
Another note. I didn't know
Nicely
that.
done.
Close.
Yeah, I love it. He just lit up. Mark Critch has never been that interested in me
No.
in any way. This is a big moment for me.
Well, that's like a Newfoundlander who could swim. So that's close
that's
enough.
us. That's us.
Yeah.
Freddie
Now-
Beach.
You're a rare breed in comedy because you actually have another life skill as well. Because you're a chef.
It's
cook.
not raising children.
You did it. You're an amazing chef. You worked in that for a long time. What made you switch to comedy?
Well, my goal was to be a chef on television. That was my goal from the beginning, and since like the early 2000s, I was like, I know I can be on television and entertain and cook, and I know I can do that. And then at one point, I said, you know what? I was hosting a lot of weddings. A lot of friends would ask me to host their weddings, and Indian, Pakistani weddings are like 500 people standard. So I'm treating these weddings like a comedy show, and I said, you know what? Maybe I'll go do some comedy, and I'll treat that audience like they're a live studio audience who I'm cooking in front of. It'll build my confidence. It'll build my persona. And I started doing that at the Comedy Works in Montreal, and then I never looked back. I fell in love with comedy, and the emotional roller coaster of food production still exists. It's like a constant, horrible experience all the time. But I'll get on television. It'll happen at some point, and I'll cook on television. That's
Not a
the
lot
goal.
of people would know when you're hosting LOL on CBC Radio 1 about this food background.
That's
and
right.
now that they do, I'm not sure it's going to contribute anything.
No, I don't think that makes anybody's life any different.
But it is nice to know.
Yeah.
Michelle, do you have anything
Not
to
very
add?
exciting.
How did you get into comedy executive production?
It's not that exciting. I went to a movie.
That's all it takes, eh?
It's not as hard as you think. It was a terrible movie. It was called Death to Smoochie. But it has a little place in my heart. And then right behind me at that film was Brent Haynes, and he was the director of programming at the Comedy Network. And then he and I started talking, and he thought that I would make a pretty decent production executive, and I thought, all right. And so I tried it. And then that was a number of years ago.
It's just that easy.
You go to a movie and a guy
That's
behind you starts talking to you.
And you're in Canadian comedy production.
A lot of you will shush the people talking behind you in the movie. That's not what Michelle did.
No.
She engaged, and now she's got a job. So think about that. Next time you say, could you keep it down, please?
Go to movies. That's what I'm getting out of that.
That's the takeaway at TIFF, is go to movies.
I should mention also, while we're here, we have a hashtag for Twitter, Fall for CBC. It's about the upcoming programming, some of the great shows that are coming back, some new exciting shows. We would like to spread the word, and if you're having a great time here, or if you're just drunk, hashtag Fall for CBC. Let the people know that we're inside, and it's quite nice here. Now, next question. Let's see what else. You know what? Canadian comedy has a certain brand, certain breed, and CBC is obviously a big part of it, especially when you have a weekly show like 22 that comments on everything Canadian. Obviously, it's your job, so it's important to you, but how important, Mark Critch, Governor General of Comedy,
Thank you.
how important is comedy to the Canadian identity?
Out of 10, 7.
7 out of 10 is
No.
pretty mediocre, Mark.
Yeah. No, there's also hockey. We have a unique thing here. Well, I sort of realized like there's lots of political shows, your Daily Show, your Colbert Report, et cetera, but and there always have been. But unique thing that we get in Canada is you can walk right up to the politician while they're doing things that are important and say, hey, yeah, great, that's great. Mr. Speaker, I'll just be a second. You're an idiot. And they stand there and they'll take it. And nowhere else in the world, because we've gone to the States and tried to do things, I went when George Bush was in office, and we would like if you go up back in the old days, Critch was prime minister, and you would actually walk in to the house, and you'd go up to the past security, and they go, "Oh, you're back again. The new fee is here," and you'd go and you'd walk past them. And then I'd go up, and there's an outer office of the Prime Minister's office. I bang on the door, and I go in, and I say, "Big guy in?" And she goes, "Oh, just a second." And she'd knock on the door, and he'd be in like, "And so I think to keep the Quebec into Canada, we must do this." And they go, the funny fellow from the East Coast is here. "Oh, boy, what do you want me to do?" "Just a second." And he'd come out, and he'd go, "Do you want me to stand on the desk?" "No, I just want to talk to you about, I have a big hat. I could put the big hat on." And I'm like, "No." And you don't get that anyway. And so I went down to the States, and I thought, oh, well, this is how you do it. And Bush was speaking in this big arena in Texas. And outside, the media would show up. You show your credentials. You go through a metal detector. You walk in the building. So I thought, okay. So I go up there. I'm like, "Oh, I'm from Canada. They said they'd have our credentials." And immediately down there, whenever you say you're from Canada, they think you're like, I don't know, maybe a sick kid who won a trip or something. Everybody just goes, "Oh, he's from Canada. He didn't know they needed credentials. Come in. I'll call Frank on the walkie." And so I'm about to get in, and then the Air Force 2, I guess, whatever the helicopter is, that lands.
I don't think that's right. Please don't fact check that. It's not Air Force 2, the helicopter for the.
And it goes chicka 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 chicka, and then out comes the guy carrying like the football, like with the new coats, and then out comes George Bush, and he's like right where that bus is. I'm going like, "Oh, great!" And I go, "Okay, he's gonna go in there. I'm gonna go around the metal detector. I'm gonna go into that side door because it's it's not like Mounties. It's American cops and military guys, so they're all like, I think it's the president, Patriot Freedom Eagle." So everybody's just staring that way, like nobody's looking at me. So I just start going. And I do
That
my
seems
usual,
like a good idea.
And my camera guy pees behind me because it's what I do all the time. And then all of a sudden, woo! This motorcycle stops in front of me. Like I go, "Get on the ground!" I'm like, "What?" And I said, "You don't understand. That guy said we might get on the ground." I said, "Who says?" "Him." And I look up, and there's a guy on the roof, a sniper with a gun pointed at me, and a guy with binoculars doing this, like ready to go like that. And I'm like, I miss the French. You can't do what we do. Like Canadian politicians are always getting pied. People sneak in with pies and hit them. It's not. It's pretty easy to get to people. So being open like that is one thing. Trust is a different.
All of that to get to trust. I'm forgetting that we're not on the debaters, and I can't go. That is the wrong answer.
You had your thing.
The right
Bing,
answer.
4 points.
Sure, that's right. Susan, do you agree with that?
Well, yeah, I think there's a thing in Canada. It's something that definitely is in Newfoundland that I used to think we suffered from, but I think is actually a great thing where it's like, don't take yourself too seriously. And at home people are like, "Oh, you got to high tie to yourself. If you got to high tie to yourself, then everyone sort of wants to be on an equal footing." And I think that there's definitely a feeling, that kind of a feeling amongst Canadians and even amongst politicians, like they can't really be taken too seriously because it's not the attitude of Canadians to really take their politicians that seriously.
Right.
So I think and that's what really enables us to do what we do, and Mark to go after people and do like crazy, hilarious things and haul out a joint in front of Justin Trudeau and offer him a toke, and
Do you want to tell the background story? Anyway, we were talking about that before, but you're right. I think that the approachability, is that a word? Yeah. Of Canadians is important, and you guys, you're here listening to this, so we think that comedy is a very important part. Hey, Michelle, we should have a lot of comedy on CBC.
We should totally have a lot of comedy on CBC.
Is there room for more comedy on CBC, Michelle?
Yes.
That's a good answer.
There's a 7 of room.
Boom. Yeah, I think there is. We just have to
do it for $5.
Well, not do it for $5. We have to do it. The right ideas have to come in, and then. But we're, for us at CBC, comedy is more than just on the main network, right? We've progressed into the digital realm with Punchline. And
for those who don't, sorry, can you explain a little bit about Punchline for those who might not know?
That's at the end of the joke, Steve.
That's the end of the joke?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. She's
No.
explaining comedy to me now.
No, that's not. Okay.
All right.
Punchline is
I'll give you a job right after this.
I might lose my job right after. Punchline is our online comedy channel, and it's where we commission and curate comedy. And it's kind of an aggregator of all types of comedy, and it's a space for the Canadian comedy community to kind of, show themselves off. The whole comedy department at CBC is involved in Punchline. We have daily meetings where we have editorial meetings where we, review the submissions. So whether you're a little, punk kid in your parents' bedroom with your iPhone and you're uploading YouTube videos and you think they're really awesome and you send them to us, we're going to be looking at them. And if they're funny enough, we'll put them up on Punchline. So that's where the curation comes in. So, and then we're commissioning
Work.
new web series and other stuff, and editorial. So if you have a funny article that you want to write, or you have a funny listogram, or I don't know what they're called. I'm very technical.
Yep.
Yeah.
For those who haven't been online for a while, it's a real, obviously it's a big expanding area, but CBC is doing a great job of it with Punchline and with the
with
website.
CBC Comedy Coup, which is also
Comedy. Did you say Comedy Coop or Comedy Coup?
It was a silent P.
It is a silent P. Not a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
The letter P is tricky. It
is a
in
very
pneumonia. I don't know
Comedy
if you knew
coup,
that.
if it without the P just sounds adorable. That's
Comedy
that's,
Coup.
Comedy coup. It's comedy for babies. It's mostly just a video of a man jangling keys.
Right.
But they love it.
We're open to that. We're
Yeah.
open to that.
Babies love keys.
Babies love keys. Key party.
That's not debatable. Ali, you host, tell us a little bit about LOL on CBC. Well, that's an important show.
I could do that. You want to talk about mixed martial arts? I could do that also if you want to.
Let's do this first. This is the comedy panel. And let's go next door and talk
I
about
just
mixed
saw
martial
the
arts.
head of the MMA. I just saw his face there. That's why that was on my mind.
Focus, buddy.
I'm very easily
Focus.
distracted. But most of my mind was I'm wondering if any of those things are paid for on
Yes.
Punchline. I knew they were, but I was just thinking about money.
Thank you
If
for
really
making
want to
me
know what's
say
in
that
my
out loud.
mind. Yeah. Well, that's an important thing, though. I think there are journalists whose work has been so diluted they can't get money for what they do. Everybody's blogging about things, and there are networks who will take things just for free. There are organizations who will do that. The fact that you do pay for that puts a level of quality on what you're accepting and what you're promoting. I think that's a wonderful thing.
Thank you.
At Laugh Out Loud, we also pay people. I don't know why that's not important.
It's not a competition.
My job is to play comedians. It's actually a wonderful job. I'm a big fan of Canadian comedy, and really I love this community that I've been able to be part of for the last 8 years. And we get to play Canadian comedians. That's what I do. And once in a while we'll venture out. We'll have the odd, Tommy Tiernan from Ireland. We'll have an American comedian here or there. Yesterday's episode we played a tribute to Robin Williams, as was fitting. But in general, it's a place where we can get Canadian comics to really show their stuff. And Tracy Rideout, who's my producer, will book shows around the country. Winnipeg, Vancouver last year. Guelph we're going to go to in a little while. And just, it's the best of the best, K. Trevor Wilsons of the world, Bebenik, Alison June Smith. These are people who've even left Canada to find more work and greener pastures and maybe more cash outside. They'll come back and they'll do Laugh Out Loud for us. And it's wonderful. I feel very proud to be able to play these people for Canadians.
I actually just meant, when is it on?
We live in a world where it doesn't matter. That question doesn't even matter anymore. No, it's 6:30 on Saturdays, but most of our listeners will either be on Sirius, on satellite radio, or they'll come to the cbc.ca website and they'll listen to on the website or on a podcast. There's a thing called podcasting, Steve, and I wanted to get to that with you.
I don't even know what a pod is, really.
Do you have a phone? We'll get
do.
to that afterwards
I don't
as well.
have a smartphone, though. I think that's too much for me. I have a stupid phone.
Yes.
And it just makes calls. Still rotary dial. And I'm
You have an old school messaging service, right? You call
I have
in,
a messaging
hello, Helen, any
service.
calls for me? Yes.
Yeah, it's a kind lady writes messages down for me and delivers them to my house.
Yeah.
So there's lots of ways to see LOL on CBC, or hear it.
Hear it.
Sorry.
for
There's
now.
no way
Yeah.
to see it, actually.
There's no way to see it. It's a radio show. You have to see it live.
Sometimes I'll take a selfie in studio. That's about all there is for you guys to see. I just sweat a lot in the studio.
It's pretty warm,
Don't I?
isn't it?
Yeah,
when they're
warm
just
in
staring
there.
at you.
Yeah.
Sir, I think you're wise to keep the sunglasses on in the front. You don't look suspicious at all with your giant package in the front row. We've got Leonard
jacket.
Cohen staring us down in the front. He will write a song about this tomorrow. It'll be very depressing. Mark people see you every week and around and live and movie, and they think, how was he just born funny? How many years have you put in to get to this point, my friend? I knew you were around Newfoundland doing sketch.
I'm at the same
and
point
improv.
I was about 10 years ago, so I guess I'll backtrack. No, I got into it when I was, the first time I got a joke, I went to Catholic school. So the nuns would tell you to do things. There was no debate. And they said, you are going to go out in kindergarten and you are going to introduce the school play to the parents. And I said, okay, great. So you go out there and you had to introduce everyone in order of holiness. So you would say archbishop, bishop, fathers, brothers, sisters, teachers, lay teachers, students, and pupils. But what I said was archbishop, bishop, fathers, brothers, sisters, teachers, lay teachers, parents, and pupils. Still works. And everyone laughed, and I went, pupils. And I went to say it the third time, and a nun hauled me off, and I thought, there's something there. And and then when I was 15, myself and some friends, there's a theater in St. John's called the LSPU Hall, where Mary Walsh and Rick Mercer and a bunch of people started. And when I was 15, I got a couple of buddies together, and I thought, let's put off a sketch comedy show. And I went down to the LSPU Hall and said, hi, I'd like to rent your premises.
Is that what you sounded like at 15? Okay.
They hadn't dropped. And I said, I'd like to rent your premises. And they said, well, we do a 60-40 deal. And I was like, okay, great. And then later on, I came back, and when they gave us the money, they gave me the 60% from the door, which was like $8. And I thought, she made a mistake. And I went off. I was very excited. But I was 15, and to get out of school, I'd go down to the office where they'd make the announcements in the morning. The teachers would write down, like, boys volleyball's at 3:15 and all that stuff. And so I would say...
I know what an announcement is, Mark.
That man looked unschooled.
He's gone now.
He's gone, yeah.
He's just getting here to make a sketch of us, and we're in
It's
trouble.
like Men in Black. He came, like, something happened. We were all knocked out for an hour, and we don't know. We'll go outside, like, why is it so late? Was I pros? And so anyway, I went down, and I would go down, write on the announcements, hey, Mr. Lewis asked if I could add something to the announcements, and I would say at the end of it, would Mark Critch please come to the office? So then they would make all the announcements and say hockey's at 4 and doodly-doo. And would Mark Critch please come to the office? And I'd look like something bad was going on at home. And I'd walk out the building, go down the hall, rehearse the show. And then that's how I started. When I was 15, I started renting out theaters and doing
that young.
comedy.
I didn't know you started that young.
So yeah, this is the only job I've had in my life. I've never done anything else except one summer when I was 12, I mowed lawns at a radio station. And
comedically, or just like?
Did you do it funny anyway?
I got fired actually. Yeah, because I would kind of like daydream and wander, and there'd be like an odd pattern, and the radio's call letters were in this giant flower bed. Said VOCM. Yeah, on the side, it was famous. And I was mowing, and the mower, and it's on a hill. It got away from me. Because I had tied a rope in my laziness, and I was lowering it down and pulling back up and lowering it down. It got away from me, and it went right through the O. So it said V, C, backwards C, N. And they're like, did you mess up the call letters in the front of the building? I'm like, I'm an artist! And you don't understand me and you and your grass. I can't smoke your grass, Daddy-o. And I'd leave, because I was a beatnik then. And
it really happened quickly, didn't it? From that young boy at 15 to the beatnik, horrible lawnmower.
Yeah, and so I did some stuff wandering around, and then I got a job as a writer on 22 Minutes, and one day Colin Mochree's plane got stuck in Vegas, and they came in and said, what size suit are you? And they put me on the desk, and that was the start of that. If Air Canada was any better, I would not be doing this.
Thank God for that. Their mistake, Canada's gain. Susan, when did you join the cast of 22?
This was, I guess it's 2.5 years ago now. Coming up season will be my third full season. I had gone to Halifax to do 2 weeks on the show a couple of years ago when the show was... Sorry, I just wanted to ask you a question. Didn't you live right next to VOCM? It must have been like so embarrassing to live in the house right next to the mauled flowers.
Yeah, my dad worked at radio. We lived like way out on the outskirts of the city.
There's like 2 houses out there and then VOCM.
Yeah. So
and one of them's Mark's.
Me and my toys and the voices in my head and a car lot and a radio station And yeah, so not only did I ruin, and then also I hadn't had a chance because I was upset. I hadn't raked, you see. And then the wind came, and there was a big rainstorm. So the next day there was cut grass over everyone's cars and the windows, the whole place. It looked like some kind of a camouflage shelter, like from one of these Vietnam movies. So everybody's just walking in, like covered in grass. And like, can I speak to you for a moment? Oh, is there a problem? And then I think, fine, I'm gone. And I went down over the slate bank and into the bungalow I grew up in, like right there that you could see from the parking lot. Yeah, I lived in shame for several years.
I bet you did.
And Dad worked at the station.
Okay,
So
I have to step in here because if you let Newfoundlanders talk to each other, suddenly it's the next day and we all have somewhere else to be. So, Susan, my question was going to be, because you cut yourself off in the middle of your
Isn't
answer.
this the lawn mowing panel? I'm not at the grass panel?
This is the panel jobs comedians can't do with Mark Critch. You joined the cast just a couple years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
And you've done an amazing job.
Well,
getting
thanks
into that
very
and added
much.
such an element. It's got to, hasn't she?
Oh, jeez, I appreciate that very much.
It's got to be tough coming into a team, a machine that is 22. And there have been a few changes over the years, but really you've got your core knit team that's been together. How do you get into something like that?
Well, I was lucky. So I did sort of the 2-week tryout. They tried out 4 different women. That was all she wrote for a while. And then they brought me down again to do 3 days. None of that aired. So I was like, no, okay. And then like 3 summers ago, I got a call from Peter McBain, who's the showrunner now, and he asked me if I wanted to do some correspondence stuff, and I was like, excellent, because I didn't have a job. And so I started writing stuff and sending it to him, and then he was like, I'll bring you in as a writer, because it's different. Once you're in the environment, you see how things work, and just to like tighten up what you're doing. So I went and I worked there for like 2 weeks in the writer's room, and it was quite an eye-opener, because the week at 22 is a pretty fast turnover, and you're writing jokes all the time. When you're not writing jokes, you're writing sketches, and when you're not writing sketches, you're writing leads. And so I was there like with like a blinking cursor, and everybody else was like tickety, 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 and I could just like, they were like, 10th joke, 11th joke, no problem, 12th joke, 13th joke, and I was like blink, blink, blink. So. But it happened, like it was good, or I guess it was good, because they brought me back after Christmas, and I was there maybe 2 days, and the phone at my desk rang, and they said, come down for a fitting, and then that was it.
Well, I don't understand. At no point do you have to mud wrestle Mary Walsh or something like that? Is there no?
I did that earlier in my career.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
you got to get past Mark Delahunt.
She broke one of my ribs once. I used to
She
play.
broke a rib?
Yeah, I played her. I love Mary, and I've played her daughter twice. I played it in a series called Hatching, Matching, and Dispatching, in a film, and we were doing this. We've been doing this scene of this wedding, which is actually based on a true story. This man found out. This is from the show Hatching, Matching, and Dispatching, but it's actually based on a true story. So this man found out that his wife had been cheating on him, and somehow got a photograph of his wife with the fellow who she was cheating with. At the wedding, he put this photograph, he like made a bunch of copies and put them underneath the chairs of all the people at the wedding, and then after, went through with it, married her, went through with it, did the whole thing, paid for it all, had all the guests, and then during the, I know you're shaking your head, I find it hilarious.
And that man is here tonight. Stand up, sir. Stand up. It's Santa Claus.
So everybody takes it out, and it's a picture of the people who were having sex and blah blah blah. So we did that in the show, and I had to run. I was the person being cheated on, so I had to run at the guy, and he was shorter than me, so he kept taking me in the rib with his shoulder, and it was like it really hurt after a while, and take after take, and it really really hurt, and I was like.
It is supposed to be pretend, though. You know that.
Oh, no, I know. It was
method.
Joel.
You're a method actor.
Yeah. And so then the next morning, myself and Walsh were doing a thing. And at the end of it, I would start like roughhousing with her. And I took her around the neck, and I was like, oh, mama. Because she was playing my mom, I was playing her daughter. Walsh hauls off. Walsh is as strong as an ox. She hauls off and gives it to me right in the ribs. And I was like... had to go in.
And you thought you were asking a funny question.
I didn't know what I was asking. I'm scared for.
Sometimes comedy hurts. That's the gist of
right,
that
that's
story.
the takeaway.
I forgot. I haven't asked questions to a Newfoundlander in a while, and it takes a while, and you forget what you've asked halfway through the question. You're like, what story are we getting right now? All right.
Yeah.
This
How long
question-
have you been in comedy? When my grandfather died of syphilis. It's like, what?
He
No,
was-
that's going back a while.
He was on the ship.
He was a pirate.
Ali, this question is for you.
I'll take it.
Only because I picked it out of the paper. All right. Who on the panel would you want to be stranded on a desert island with? Actually, it says desert island, but I think they mean a desert island. Two different answers.
I want to go on a
Who would you
desert
like to be
island.
on a desert island with?
I don't have much of a sweet tooth, so that's a weird.
Dessert is land? What? Who wrote this?
This panel right here. This is where we're
Yes, the
right.
question's
Okay,
about
all right.
the
I
room
just
today,
wasn't
not
clear.
any
He's just trying to get
panel.
out of it.
The Larry King panel talking about the death of Marlon
I did
Brando.
some panels. I did
That
some
panel's a
panels
great
in my
panel.
life.
Jamie Farr was on it.
Mark Critch. Mark Critch is the answer
Mark
to that
Critch, you'd
question.
want to be on a desert
Yeah,
island.
I mean,
Why?
there's like a lot of obscure knowledge. I feel like I'd be constantly learning. That's what Yeah,
I
right?
can't
'Cause-
swim, however.
Oh, perfect.
You'd be stranded there for some time.
Sometime, but we'd make do.
Yeah. Do you float when you're dead, or how does that work?
Yeah, you
Well,
could
because
use
I
me
could
as a
use
raft.
him as a raft once he
I think
didn't
I would
swim
be-
anyway. It's
yeah.
not like he was gonna.
And I would have
get
the most
saved.
meat on me for survival.
Yeah.
That's great. You're thinking the good way. It's like you could pick one of the lovely ladies, or you could pick the guy
Oh.
who, if you killed,
Stick
who
some
would
bones
keep you
on
alive
him.
the longest.
Yes.
And this is an excellent segue to my next question. Michelle,
Who on the panel would you eat?
and why? Who on the
I'm unhealthy.
panel-
When I
listen,
sweat, I make
wanna
my
think
own
about
gravy.
it.
I'm
Who on the
tender.
panel looks
I
tasty?
You made it sound very delicious, Mark.
I make a
That sounds
lot.
like a new CBC show. That'd be Martin Short hosts. Who would you eat on CBC?
Canada's
Who would you eat,
tastiest
Canada?
person.
Well, I want Mark and Allie, because Allie could help me cook Mark.
Well, yeah.
That's not a bad
that's
point.
savvy. That's
Right?
You know
savvy.
what? You're going to get a little something for that.
Thank you.
Not just a pretty face.
And if
or even.
And if I get too lippy, I imagine she'll probably take a chunk out of the guy who eats Indian and Southeast Asian food all the time, right?
Oh my God,
I
you'd
don't
be so
taste- I don't-
delicious.
I don't see race.
You would be so delicious.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm
Very
saying.
bland
That's what I'm
tasting. We
saying.
just boil everything till
Yeah,
the color
yeah, I
drains
don't
out.
think-
But you have flavor.
But see,
I
I
don't
get the
think Critch would
technique,
taste very
and then
good.
eat you first, then I'm coming after you.
Yeah, this is
You're
fun.
a horrible moderator.
Susan, you are free.
No,
no
Susan's
one's
coming
eating
with
you.
me.
I know,
I can't eat
it's
everything.
excellent. I'm just
No,
going
you're
to stay
coming
here
with
while
me.
you guys go eat
You'll
each
be
other on the
firewood.
island.
You'll
I'm
be
not sure
firewood
what-
and
Moderate,
kindling.
moderate.
I know, it's supposed to stop before it goes off the rails. What is this? We haven't practiced any hand signals, so I just look back to Kelly and she just goes, maybe just twitch your finger like this and everything will go away.
of something.
She wants to know if you could take a picture of her and her friend.
What is that? Sure, I'll take a picture of you. You have your phone? What do we need to do?
Oh, absolutely.
Photo ops anytime. Do we have time for any questions from the audience or not?
Yeah.
A couple? We have time for 2 questions.
Why aren't you
There
talking
is a
From
about
the
budget.
audience. I'm going to let you be amplified, ma'am, even though it's not that necessary. So just tell us what your name is, what paper you're from.
I'm not from any paper.
Just make it up.
I'm from the Sweet Keep paper.
Nice.
Sweet key paper.
Okay.
It's a good one.
My question is for Mark Critch. I just want to say I absolutely adore you and everything that you've done. I'm a huge fan.
Wait, it's a question.
Question coming. I'm a bit
The answer
long-winded.
is yes.
Yeah, yes. Okay. The question is, what's your take on Rob Ford, other than obviously what you've done, to fry him on your show?
I think Rob Ford is doing something brilliant now. I think he's doing the rope-a-dope thing. It's kind of like you're just like, you kind of forget. It's like letting everybody else have the debates and stuff. He's kind of staying out of it a little bit now. He's just hiding around. And he's going to think, okay, because he kind of died down a bit. And, people, like now it's like he's just been subpoenaed to appear in the crack investigation and stuff. And, people are making a big deal of it. He's kind of laying back a little bit. And so that you go like, I think he's really hoping now that people will go and that the vote will split and it'll be Tory and Chow and all this stuff, and that he'll come up in the middle. Or what I think is going to happen is people are going to get there, go, I'm so sick of Rob Ford, I'm going to go, and it's going to be ridiculous, but screw it, it's kind of funny, isn't it? And there'll be just legions of like drunk college guys on buses coming in to vote for the first time, going, let's do that!
Maybe he doesn't get elected again.
Well, what will you do if he doesn't get
You
elected?
know what? It's great. It's the easiest thing, because the thing about Canadian politics is we don't all pay attention, and the people who do you really want them watching? It's boring. It's very boring sometimes, and you think, what's going to happen? It's hard to make jokes, and when you make a joke, you have to say, like, Tony Clement, who is a member of the Conservative Party of Canada, who are currently in power, when during the G8 they had in Muskoka, which is another place it's a great place to go if you want to canoe. Anyway, they built a fake lake at a gazebo. Now, a gazebo is like there's a lot of explanation, but now you go like Justin Trudeau, pop! Rob Ford, crack! It's easy. Everybody knows. Mike Duffy, 2 houses, overweight, stealing things. Great. And everybody knows. So you don't have to spend half your show explaining stuff, and everybody's on the happy train. So it's great. People are really interested in Canadian politics in a kitchen table kind of way.
So selfishly, you'd like Ford to get in.
Oh my gosh, the best thing in
But
the
you
world
don't
for
have
me.
to live here, man. You don't have
I
to
got on
live here.
CNN. My impression got on CNN. That doesn't happen with, like Tony Clement. You know what I mean?
You know
Nobody
what?
wants that
Maybe you
clip.
just didn't have a bang on enough Tony Clement. Maybe that's true.
Tony
It's a
Clement
poor
can't do
carpenter that
Tony
blames
Clement
his
properly.
tool. We have
Is
time for
Tony
one more
here?
question. This gentleman looks like it's going to be a good question. What's your name, sir?
Jim, I'm from Toronto, and this is for everybody. There was a skit where Mary Walsh went up to the Prime Minister Harper, and she smeared lipstick all over his face. And for a minute, I actually cringed. I thought, oh shit, you guys have gone too far. You're going to have the RSMP all over you. What happened?
Nothing. She walked away. Yeah, back.
But Prime Minister Harper looked genuinely upset.
Oh, sure,
first
screw
time he
me.
was
It's not a
kicked
good.
by a woman.
But
First time he was
that's
kicked by
the
a
thing,
woman.
right? But the thing is, like, sometimes, like, but yeah, but I understand that. But the other side of it is, there are people too, and the strange thing, when Harper got in, he had all these things where people would be saying to you, you can't go here, you can't come here, you can't do, and I realize what we do is this goony kind of thing. But we always, when we do it at a press conference, and there's other people around, we always wait until the last question. So all the real reporters have gotten their things in. Generally, they know we're there. It's not set up, but they know you're there. Like Peter McKay will go, wow, I don't want to do this. So screw it, I'm doing it. Like, it's like, it's not like the guy's the Pope or anything. He's like the minister or something. It's like his cat. So you go up and you do it. And he was upset, and he said, your conservatives aren't allowed to do the show anymore. And he said that he would never do the show anymore. But that's fine. And now then he would say, like, I will do the show if it's scripted and I approve it. But the way I look at those things is we're not somebody's PR company, you know what I mean? So, but the ones who aren't afraid of it are, in my mind, always the best. Jim Flaherty always did the show. Peter McKay will always do the show. The Conservatives, Lisa Raitt, different people. So it really gives you a true sense of who they are and how they react in the moment. John Beard ran away from me at a thing, and he ran down a hallway to a door that was locked. A grown man. And other people like Tony Clement, everybody did this, and he ran down, and he was there, and he ran down, and he went. I was at the end of the hallway. I said, John, what do you think is going to happen? Come out. No. You look crazy. He goes, I won't do it. You make me look stupid. You look stupid. So if they do it, they do it, But yeah, that was maybe a bit much. But you're talking about it, so it works for TV.
Thank you. Excellent question, sir, and excellent hat. And
you look like you could survive on an island.
You
look
do.
like you know how to make medicine out of herbs.
And I detected a slight non-Torontonian accent in there. Are you originally from Toronto or no?
Originally from Barrie.
What'd you say? Barrie?
It's
I thought it was
Barrie
more
accent.
exotic. than
Barrie
that.
accent.
Toronto, Bouchard. I'm from Barrie, a bedroom community.
Barrie.
Wales.
Came from-
Probably Barrie.
I'm just guessing. All right, we're winding down. We have a lot of panels
Just
going
an
on,
hour left.
So we
We're going to do the whole panel in French because it's the CBC.
we have to do that, which is going to be awkward.
I think that.
Okay. Bonjour tout le monde. Bienvenue ici. That's all I got.
L-E-L.
Yeah. Rire fortement. Le MMA, par exemple?
No, that's not
Okay,
even
no.
right. You didn't even say the letters right in French. Okay. This panel is winding down. We have an opportunity, photo ops back over there. It's a red carpet opportunity where you can take shots on the red carpet. A lot of the CBC people will go over there.
We do have to use the carpet in the future, so please take off your shoes before you step on it. CBC, taking care of your public domes.
It is official CBC carpet.
It's the carpet from Mr. Dressup's house.
That would be amazing.
So there's great photo ops over there, which you can tweet and retweet.
Facts. You could draw
Try facts.
pastels you could do of the people.
Yeah, it's a full community center. We have crayons. But we'd love everyone to go over, make use of the space here. I want to thank everyone on the comedy panel. And you're all comedy contributors, by the way, and you're all right, especially with this CBC Punchline thing. We want as much funny Canadian content out there as possible. So if there's something that you would like to see done or you have suggestions, and certainly we on the Debaters have a link, cbc.ca/thedebaters. If there's topics you would like debated, please let us know, and we will debate them in a funny way. And I hope that everyone here takes advantage of all the different CBC vehicles there are to get content out there, especially in comedy, because maybe I'm a little biased, but comedy is good and everything else sucks. So let's keep laughing, Canada. Thank you for being on the panel. One more time, big thanks to Susan Kent, Ali Hassan, Michelle Daly, and Mark Critch. My name's Steve Patterson. Thank you for being here.